The gift that sparked a revolution. Tobias Fletcher clutched the vintage lava lamp like it contained the secrets of the universe, which, given his luck with diplomatic missions, it probably did. The transport shuttle Harmony's Edge shuddered as it approached Nexus Station, and Toby tried not to think about how his last cultural exchange had ended with him accidentally starting a food fight between two warring alien factions over the proper way to eat spaghetti. "Remember, Fletcher." Ambassador Kronth's voice crackled through the comm, tinged with the weary patience of someone who'd spent too many years cleaning up diplomatic disasters. "Keep it simple. Princess Zaravel of the Viridian Empire is attending this summit as a gesture of goodwill, not because she needs our friendship. One wrong move and we'll be explaining to Earth Command why our newest trade partner decided humans are too chaotic for civilized society." Toby shifted the lava lamp in his protective case, watching the purple and orange wax blobs drift lazily in their glass chamber. He'd chosen it from Earth's vintage cultural artifacts collection because it seemed harmless enough. No sharp edges, no complex cultural significance, just a groovy piece of 1970s kitsch that supposedly represented humanity's artistic evolution. What could possibly go wrong? The shuttle docked with a soft hiss, and Toby found himself staring through the viewport at Nexus Station's crystalline architecture. The entire structure seemed to grow rather than be built, with transparent walls that pulsed with gentle bioluminescent patterns. Through the station's center he could see Viridian Prime itself, a world that looked like someone had crafted it from emeralds and starlight, with floating crystal formations that danced in perfect orbital synchronization. "Okay, Toby," he muttered, to himself, straightening his formal diplomatic jacket. "You've got this. Smile, present gift. Don't accidentally insult their ancestors, or their diet, or their concept of time and space. Easy." The airlock cycled open, and Toby stepped into what could only be described as controlled chaos. Nexus Station's central hub buzzed with activity as delegates from a dozen different species prepared for the summit. A group of insectoid beings clicked and chittered around a holographic star chart, while nearby, a trio of gaseous entities communicated through color-shifting clouds that smelled faintly of cinnamon. "Junior Cultural Attaché Fletcher?" The voice belonged to Scribe Nith, a translucent, jellyfish-like creature who floated at eye level, trailing bioluminescent tendrils that flickered with each word. "Princess Zaravel awaits your presentation." In the crystal chamber. Toby nodded, trying not to stare at the way Nith's thoughts seemed to scroll across their transparent body in glowing text. "Thank you. Is there anything I should know about protocol? Do not touch the resonance crystals. Do not mention the schism wars. Do not ask about her collection of severed diplomatic immunity badges." Nith paused, considering. "Also, she finds most humans amusing in the way one finds a small animal wearing clothes amusing. Take that as you will." They glided through corridors that hummed with crystalline harmonies, each step triggering soft chimes that somehow managed to sound both alien and oddly familiar. Other delegates nodded politely as they passed. Toby recognized the ambassador from the Helix Collective and tried not to remember how their last meeting had ended with him accidentally complimenting their molting process. The crystal chamber. Doors opened with a sound like singing glass, and Toby's breath caught. The room was a perfect sphere, its walls made of what appeared to be living crystal that shifted between transparent and opaque in mesmerizing patterns. Floating platforms provided seating, and the entire space pulsed with a gentle rhythm that reminded him of a heartbeat. Princess Zaravel stood at the chamber's center, and Toby immediately understood why half the galaxy's diplomats went slightly tongue-tied in her presence. She was tall and elegant, with skin that seemed to be made of polished jade, shot through with veins of silver light. Her formal robes appeared to be woven from crystallized starlight, shifting between deep emerald and brilliant white with each movement. Most striking were her eyes, multifaceted like gems, constantly shifting between different hues as they tracked his approach. "Ah," she said, her voice carrying the musical quality common to her species. "The infamous Tobias Fletcher. I've heard interesting stories about your previous diplomatic endeavors." Toby winced. "I prefer to think of them as learning experiences, Your Highness." The spaghetti incident was indeed educational, she replied, and he couldn't tell if she was mocking him or genuinely amused. I trust today's presentation will be equally memorable. Commander Rixus, head of the Royal Security Detail, stood to one side like a living statue carved from black diamond. His forearms remained perfectly still, but his multiple eyes tracked every movement Toby made. The message was clear. One wrong move, and there would be diplomatic consequences measured in plasma burns. I bring greetings from Earth and the Terran Confederation, Toby began, activating his formal diplomatic voice and immediately regretting how stilted he sounded. As a symbol of our desire for cultural exchange and mutual understanding, I present this artifact representing humanity's artistic evolution and our appreciation for the beauty of controlled chaos. He opened the protective case and lifted out the lava lamp, its purple and orange wax already beginning to warm and flow under the chamber's ambient lighting. The effect was immediately mesmerizing. Slow, hypnotic blobs of color rising and falling in their liquid medium like a tiny galaxy trapped in glass. The silence that followed stretched long enough for Toby to wonder if he'd somehow broken an important cultural taboo. Princess Zaravel stared at the lamp with an expression he couldn't read, her multifaceted eyes shifting rapidly through the color spectrum. Then she laughed, not a polite diplomatic chuckle or a condescending titter, but a full, unrestrained laugh that echoed through the crystal chamber like music. She pressed one elegant hand to her mouth, her shoulders shaking with mirth, while her other hand gestured helplessly at the lava lamp. "Oh, stars preserve us," she gasped between laughs. "You brought liquid fire in a crystal chamber. To me. At this summit." She looked up at Commander Rixus, who had gone completely rigid. Do you see? Do you see what he's done?" Toby felt his stomach drop somewhere around his ankles. "I'm sorry, Your Highness, I didn't realize." No, she said, stepping closer to examine the lamp with sudden intensity. The laughter had vanished from her voice, replaced by something that sounded almost like awe. "This is perfect. Absolutely perfect." She leaned in close enough that he could see the intricate patterns of light dancing beneath her skin, and whispered in perfect, unaccented English, "Do you have any idea what you've just done?" The question sent a chill down Toby's spine. Around them, the other delegates had gone suspiciously quiet. Scribe Nith's tendrils flickered rapidly as they recorded every nuance of the interaction. Commander Rixus had taken a subtle step forward, his multiple hands moving to rest near what were definitely not ceremonial weapons. "I'm guessing it's not just a groovy lamp anymore," Toby whispered back. Princess Zaravel's smile was sharp enough to cut starlight. "The prophecy of liquid fire speaks of controlled chaos trapped in crystal chambers, brought by the flame bearer from the third world of a yellow star to awaken what has slept for 7 centuries. She paused, letting that sink in. "Congratulations, Tobias Fletcher. You've just accidentally fulfilled one of our oldest prophecies." The crystal walls of the chamber suddenly pulsed brighter, responding to some unseen signal. Deep beneath Nexus Station, something that had been sleeping for 700 years stirred to life. And in his hands, the innocent lava lamp continued its hypnotic dance, completely unaware that it had just changed the course of galactic history. "So," Toby said faintly, "I'm guessing the gift exchange went well?" Princess Zaravel's laughter returned, but this time it carried an edge of wild excitement that made Commander Rixus reach for his weapons in earnest. "Oh, my dear flame bearer," she said, taking his arm with surprising gentleness. "You have no idea what you've started." As alarms began to sound in the depths of the station and ancient systems awakened for the first time in centuries, Toby couldn't help but think that Ambassador Kronth was going to need a very large bottle of antacids when he heard about this. When ancient prophecies meet modern awkwardness, the emergency klaxons hadn't stopped wailing for 3 hours, and Toby was beginning to suspect that accidentally fulfilling ancient prophecies came with a significant amount of paperwork. He sat in what Princess Zaravel had cheerfully described as a comfortable detention suite, which featured walls made of singing crystal, furniture that adjusted to his emotional state, and a view of Viridian Prime that would have been breathtaking if he weren't potentially facing charges of prophetic interference, and unauthorized awakening of dormant civilizational infrastructure. The lava lamp sat on the room's central table, still doing its hypnotic dance, completely oblivious to the chaos it had caused. Through the transparent walls, Toby could see maintenance crews scrambling across Nexus Station's exterior, their crystalline suits glowing as they attempted to recalibrate systems that hadn't been active since before his species had invented agriculture. "Well," he muttered to the lamp, "at least you're consistent." The door chimed, and Princess Zaravel entered without ceremony, having traded her formal robes for what appeared to be armor crafted from liquid starlight. It flowed around her like mercury but held its shape like steel, and Toby tried not to think about why someone might need armor for a diplomatic conversation. "Good news and bad news," she announced, settling onto the chair across from him with the fluid grace of someone born to move in zero-gravity environments. "The good news is that the Conclave has decided not to execute you for prophetic interference." "That's wonderfully reassuring," Toby said. "What's the bad news?" "My brother, Prince Vextor, has convinced half the Royal Council that you're either a spy sent to destabilize our government or an idiot who's too dangerous to leave unsupervised." She paused, considering. To be fair, both possibilities are equally terrifying from a diplomatic standpoint. Through the walls, Toby could hear the distant sound of crystalline chimes, growing more urgent by the minute. "What exactly did my lamp wake up down there?" Zaravel's expression grew serious, her multifaceted eyes shifting to deeper hues. "The deep archives. Our civilization's memory core, sealed 7 centuries ago after the resonance wars nearly tore our world apart. The prophecy speaks of a flame bearer who would awaken the sleeping knowledge when our people faced their greatest test." She leaned forward. "Toby, we're 3 days away from signing a trade agreement that would make Viridian Prime economically dependent on the Helix Collective. Half our population thinks it's salvation, the other half thinks it's surrender. And your ancient computer chose now to wake up and have opinions about intergalactic economics? The archives don't just store information, they store wisdom. The accumulated experience of our entire species, including warnings about civilizations that seemed friendly until they weren't." She stood, her armor rippling like water. "I need to get down there and find out what it's trying to tell us. The problem is, according to the prophecy, the flame bearer has to be present for the archives to fully activate." Toby felt a familiar, sinking sensation in his stomach. "Let me guess, I'm the flame bearer." "Congratulations, you've been promoted from cultural attaché to prophetic catalyst." She walked to the wall and pressed her palm against a specific crystal formation. A hidden panel slid open, revealing a narrow maintenance shaft. "Coming? Is this the part where I point out that I'm technically under diplomatic detention and probably shouldn't be crawling through alien ventilation systems? This is the part where you decide whether you want to spend the next decade in comfortable imprisonment while 2 civilizations make potentially catastrophic decisions based on incomplete information, or help me find out what our ancestors were trying to warn us about." Toby looked at the lava lamp, which pulsed with a faint inner light that definitely hadn't been there when he'd packed it on Earth. "Can I bring my prophetic catalyst with me?" "I'd recommend it." The archives seemed to have formed an attachment. The maintenance shaft led to a service lift that dropped them through the heart of Nexus Station and down to the surface of Viridian Prime itself. The planet's crystalline landscape stretched out in all directions, formations that sang in harmonious frequencies while smaller crystal fragments danced in the air like glowing snowflakes. The sight would have been magical if not for the massive security cordon surrounding what appeared to be the entrance to an underground complex. "Your brother's people?" Toby asked, noting the armed figures in black crystal armor. "Prince Vextor believes in traditional solutions to unusual problems," Zaravel replied, "namely, containing them until they stop being unusual." They approached through a series of natural crystal formations that provided cover from the security forces. Zaravel moved with the fluid confidence of someone who'd done this before, while Toby tried to channel every spy movie he'd ever seen, and mostly succeeded in tripping over his own feet. The entrance to the deep archives was carved directly into the planet's crystal matrix, a doorway that seemed to extend infinitely downward. Ancient symbols covered its surface, pulsing with soft light that responded to their presence. As they drew closer, the lava lamp in Toby's arms began to glow brighter, its liquid contents moving faster. "Keeper Soleth," Princess Zaravel called, softly as they approached the threshold. "I come seeking the wisdom of the deep archives." A figure emerged from the crystalline shadows, and Toby had to suppress the urge to step backward. Keeper Soleth appeared to be made entirely of living crystal, their form shifting between solid and translucent as they moved. Ancient beyond measure, they carried themselves with the dignity of someone who had watched civilizations rise and fall like seasons. "Princess Zaravel," Soleth's voice resonated like wind through crystal caves. "And the flame-bearer from the third world. The archives have been vocal since your arrival." "Vocal how?" Toby asked. "They've been asking for you specifically, by name, which is unusual, considering they've been silent for 700 years and you've existed for less than 30. The entrance to the archives opened at their approach, revealing a descending spiral of crystal steps that glowed with bioluminescent patterns. The walls were covered with what appeared to be living memory cores, each one pulsing with stored experiences and knowledge. As they descended, Toby could hear whispers in languages he didn't recognize, punctuated by the occasional phrase in perfect English. "Is it normal for ancient alien databases to speak multiple languages?" he asked. "The archives learn," Keeper Soleth explained. "They've been listening to your species' broadcasts for decades, preparing for this moment." At the bottom of the spiral lay a vast chamber dominated by a structure that looked like a crystal tree grown from pure light. The Oracle of Flames, a consciousness born from the merger of technology and organic crystal, pulsed at its heart. As they approached, the lava lamp in Toby's arms grew almost unbearably warm. "Welcome, Flame-bearer," the Oracle spoke directly, into their minds, its voice carrying the weight of centuries. "You bring the catalyst that awakens sleeping truths." "I just brought a lava lamp to a diplomatic meeting," Toby protested. "I wasn't trying to awaken anything. Intent matters less than action. You have shown us liquid fire contained in crystal, the perfect metaphor for controlled power within transparent boundaries. This is what we tried to teach our children before the wars. That true strength comes not from force but from the wisdom to contain and direct one's power thoughtfully." The Oracle's light intensified, and suddenly the chamber filled with holographic displays, showing star charts, historical records, and what appeared to be detailed analyses of various galactic civilizations. The Helix Collective featured prominently, their expansion patterns highlighted in ominous red. "The Helix Collective consumes resources and cultures with methodical efficiency," the Oracle continued. "They begin with beneficial trade agreements, create economic dependency, then gradually assert political control. 17 civilizations have followed this pattern. Viridian Prime would be the 18th. Princess Zaravel stared at the data. Projections, her expression growing grim. "How long do we have?" "Based on current treaty negotiations, complete economic absorption within 50 standard years. Political integration within 75. And if we refuse the trade agreement? Short-term economic hardship, but preservation of cultural and political independence. The choice, as always, belongs to your people." Alarm suddenly echoed through the chamber. Commander Rixus's voice crackled through the comm system. "Princess, we have a situation. Prince Vextor has declared you in violation of security protocols. He's mobilizing the guard." "Of course he is," Zaravel muttered. She turned to Toby. "I need to get this information to the Conclave before my brother decides to solve our problems by locking everyone inconvenient in crystal stasis chambers." "What about me?" Toby asked. "I'm guessing I can't just catch the next shuttle home and pretend this never happened. The prophecy mentions that the flame-bearer must choose, return to his world with the wisdom gained, or remain to guide the awakening." The Oracle's attention focused on him with uncomfortable intensity. "Your species and ours are more connected than either realizes. This moment echoes across both our futures." Footsteps echoed from the entrance above. Prince Vextor's forces, had found them. "Toby," Zaravel said urgently, "I need you to trust me one more time." Before he could ask what she meant, her armor extended to envelope him in a protective shell. The world outside became a blur of crystal light and motion as she activated some kind of rapid transport system. The last thing he saw was the oracle, of flames pulsing once more, and somehow he knew the ancient consciousness was laughing. They emerged on the surface near a landing pad where a sleek Terran shuttle waited, its engines already warming. Pilot Gemma Cross, a compact woman with silver hair and the kind of confident smile that suggested she'd outrun her share of interstellar incidents, waved them aboard. "Diplomatic extraction?" she called over the engine noise. "Something like that," Toby replied, still clutching his lava lamp as they boarded. As the shuttle lifted off, he watched Nexus Station shrink below them. Princess Zaravel sat across from him, already composing what appeared to be a very lengthy diplomatic communique. "So," he said finally, "did we just prevent an interstellar colonization or start an intergalactic incident?" "Probably both," she replied without looking up. "But sometimes preventing disasters requires creating smaller, more manageable disasters first." The lava lamp pulsed once more, its liquid contents settling into a new pattern that somehow seemed more purposeful than random. Through the shuttle's viewport, Toby could see both Earth and Viridian Prime, two worlds now connected by the strangest diplomatic mission in recorded history. "Next time," he muttered to his accidental catalyst, "I'm bringing cookies." Pilot Cross laughed from the cockpit. "Cookies are good. They rarely awaken ancient prophecies." "Rarely?" Toby asked. "Well," she said, "there was this one incident with snickerdoodles and the temporal monks of Arcturus, but that's a story for another day." As they headed home through the star-filled void, Toby reflected that diplomacy was far more complicated than anyone had mentioned in his training. But sometimes, apparently, the best way to prevent a disaster was to accidentally cause a completely different one instead.